Hello, hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m. in Ireland, 10 p.m. in France. Hope to have everyone here for the Spiritual Light talk. It's a pleasure to be here with my friends Charles and Silvia. And today's topic is: Do miracles exist? Do miracles exist? And it is a huge topic, and let's see how this will develop along our conversation here. Please don't forget to write your questions or comments in the comment box, and we'll be happily here try to answer or give some explanations. Meanwhile, good evening, Ms. Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
Good evening, you, Stevan, Charles, and everyone that's watching with us, Elsa, Beatrice, and everyone who's there. And it's wonderful to be here again, once more. It seems that the time is going so quickly. And today is the first day of spring in England, and we are so happy because it was a sunny day. So, hopeful, looking forward to things, and I'm well and looking forward to the talk today, to talk to everyone. And if anyone has questions or would like to make point, it would be nice. So just write to us, and welcome everyone. Many blessings.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir Steven, bonsoir à tous. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Happy to be here again. Yes, it's spring. It was also a sunny day here. After almost 6 months in interrupted rain, we have a deficit of sun of 55% compared with the normal. So hopefully it will compensate a little bit right now. But okay, maybe a miracle will happen. So this is what we will try to explain today.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Good. Okay, let me share the video. The video, I couldn't find a non-religious video, but it's a part of the video which is very interesting, and we will we will discuss why I share I had this video here for us.
Who touched my clothes? Thou seest the multitude thronging thee. Sayest thou who touched me?
Master, I have suffered an issue of blood for 12 years. And if I could just touch thy clothes, that I would be whole.
Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague.
Okay. Um, Miracles. Do miracles exist? Let's try to answer this question throughout our conversation here. If miracles exist or not, without our faith, it's not going to happen. You can call it miracle. You can call this your real power. You can call whatever name you want to. This is the reason why I put this video for us today. Because the woman believed in it. So, in other words, her faith healed her. And we will discuss this. And Charles, do miracles exist?
Good question, isn't it? As always, it depends on what the meaning we give to miracle. If miracle is understood as being an abnormal, rare, and exceptional happening or fact, yes, rare or exceptional facts are happening from time to time. Okay. Now, if the word miracle means some exception to God's or natural laws, this definitively, as per the Spiritist body of knowledge, does not exist. Because God existing, one of his attributes is perfection. So all what he has done is perfect, and including the natural laws or divine laws are perfect. So if the laws are perfect, they don't need any exception at all. And Kardec is explaining this very well in the Genesis according to Spiritism. Full title is Genesis, Miracles and Prediction according to Spiritism. And he is writing that God proves God's greatness and power by the fulfillment and not by the suspension of divine laws. Okay? If God has made the laws of nature perfect, it would be a nonsense to make some suspension to these laws. If these laws are perfect, they will cope with everything, even what we have seen in the video you just showed. This woman, only by touching Jesus, get cured from the bleed or the bleeding or the illness she had. Okay, so this is qualified as a miracle, an exception to God's law. But who is knowing when we look even to the mesmerism or the spiritism, the properties of fluids that Kardec is explaining also in this chapter 13 of the Genesis according to Spiritism. This woman, through her face and taking opportunity of Jesus passing close by her, just by touching the clothes, she somehow extracted some fluids, spiritual fluids, from Jesus, which were around Jesus, and exactly with the help of the spirits, of course, which was needed for her to cure this illness. And Jesus noted it. He noted that some energy has been subtracted from him. And that's why he asked, who touched my clothes? And he went back to give the lesson to the posterity as we have today in the gospel. Of course, it was Jesus. But so Jesus is an exceptional being. He's probably one of the most evolved spirit who ever incarnated on earth. And that's why he had this huge power, fluidic power first, and second, knowledge of how to handle these fluids, And this is why all what he has done at that time was absolutely not understood, has been considered as miracles. God's will, God wanted to do a particular favor to that woman. And so he suspended temporarily, his laws. That's not the right interpretation. The right interpretation is really, this woman had faith, so she was in a kind of a very receptive state to receive those needed fluids. Jesus went by just in front of her. He had these fluids available, and the transfer occurred. So it's not a miracle. It's perfectly explained by the laws governing fluids, as explained in the, or recalled in the Spiritist body of knowledge. So no miracle as exception or suspension of divine laws or natural laws. This does not exist.
Okay. And you, Miss Gibbons, what come from England?
Hi, yes. This is a very interesting subject, isn't it? About miracles, because basically, when you think about miracles, you think something marvelous, something outside of the realm of the possible, something that there would be few and very exceptional situations in which you had miracle. And I think that's how mostly we see miracles nowadays. Our understanding of the word miracle is what exceptional things is happening, which in a way is changed very much from the original meaning of the word miracle, which was something, that was to be to admire, something good. But we understand this, and usually you think something that is religious. I think a lot of the things to do with religion. A lot of people understand this as something that is religious, that's God-given and everything. But I think the point that Charles made actually about Spiritism and how Spiritism says miracle is basically something quite natural, something within the natural laws that we maybe so far we do not understand, because we still don't know the law. The natural laws exist, and of course, as science has developed tremendously, especially in the last 100 years, but in the last 30, 40 years, we have seen a completely transformation of science and all the knowledge in our planet that maybe took thousands and thousands of years, and the last 2 centuries has been developing more and more, and it seems to be speeding up. We have now technology that is truly miraculous. I mean, can you imagine, the whole technology about nanotechnology? We have now something that we are able to send a flying machine into space to sit into a meteor that's flying thousands and thousands of kilometers or miles, a minute, and we can sit this there. So for us, we take this as something, it's okay, science, development of science. But can you imagine, even 50 years ago, imagine, putting a machine in a meteor flying through space, a comet, it's a comet going through space. And it's interesting because as we progress, the science develops and the learning becomes more and more. We learn more and more of the laws of the world, or the natural laws. Many things that could be considered a miracle is now something that is just there. I mean, honestly, I wonder how many people actually read the news or read it in the internet or the paper or whatever, and stop to think about it like 2 minutes and, oh my God, this is a miracle that this has happened, because it didn't. It's something that we take for granted. Thinking about COVID, just a year, 2 years ago, the nightmare that we all lived through. But before, they used to take like minimum 10, 15, 20 years to develop a vaccine. And they were able to do that, in less than a year. And I know that a lot of people are against it. They protest against. They said there was a lot of problems. Yes, and I'm sure that there was a lot of difficulties, and many people were affected, not in a positive way. But I think the great majority of people survived because they were able to. And it was not a miracle. It was, people, scientists putting their minds together and to develop and to getting to know some of the natural laws. Because the natural laws, I think, Charles pointed out, is God's laws. They exist, whether we know about them or not. So many, many miracles that we considered miracles, nowadays is no longer a miracle. And it's interesting, the video that you showed, because I think mostly, even people who are non-Christians, when you talk about miracle, you think about Jesus, because, the Gospels is a collection of many miracles. And this, one of the videos is particularly interesting because Jesus didn't talking to this woman, she was in the middle of the crowd. I mean, the video shows is a bit different. I mean, they, maybe theater, whatever.
Yeah.
In the gospel itself, she wasn't sitting at the side. She was walking with the multitude. And when Jesus passed by her, she just touched his clothes, and then he turns back and said, "Who touched me? I felt something coming out of me." And then, and it's interesting as well, because Peter says, "Well, how do I know who touched you? There's so many people around us." This is a very interesting part of the gospel. How do I know? There's so many people. And then she says, "It's me." And then, she said, if, why? And she said, "I knew you would save me." And I think one of the most important things in the Gospels, when we read about the miracles that Jesus performed, he said to the woman, "Your faith cured you." And whenever he would go, and everybody, he would say, "What do you want me to do for you?" What, when the story, the miracle of the leper, of the blind man, he said, "Oh, Master, help me." And then he said, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Oh, I want my sight." And then, there are one of the different ones, in one that Jesus just healed him, and the other one that he gets the earth, and he spits on it, and he puts in the eyes of this man and asks him to go to that fountain to wash his eyes, and he has his sight back. And the blind man of Jericho, that there is all that questions about who sinned and everything. But it's interesting that Jesus didn't perform any miracle as such. He would go to the person and say, "What do you want of me? What do you want me to do for you?" And then whenever they had the miracle, he would say, "Your faith healed you." And, I think some of the things that Jesus was striking more than anything, when he was very kind and talking to the Roman soldier who came to ask because his servant was very ill. And Jesus, and he said, "I go to," he said, "No, don't come to my house. I'm not worthy." But, and he said, "Your faith cured your servant. Your faith cured you. And what you want me to do?" And in a way, I think what he was saying, the faith that people had, that he would help, actually the people are healing themselves. And that's, I think, one of the things of the miracles that we forget. And I think in the Gospels and in the teachings of Jesus, we see this again and again and again. He's telling us, you heal yourself. You ask something, and you heal yourself. Your faith healed you. And I think we miss that sometimes because you expect other people to do it. And I think this is very, very important to remember these things, that we have the power of healing ourselves. And those things are within God's laws. And I think Charles pointed out as well that the laws of God are perfect. And God would not make something different that would go against the way his laws are created. And I think some of the miracles that we think it's a miracle in a way is just because something happens that laws we still don't know. And in Genesis, he points out, he gives certain examples, which was very cutting edge for his time. But communication, and then he says, one of the examples they give about communication in the telegram, that you could, if telegram, what you call the, the things, telegraph, isn't it, that invented the telegraph. But now you had to wait and come back, and they said, oh, if anybody says it's the work of the devil, because of course only the devil can travel that fast. They make a joke about it. But nowadays we can talk to the other side of the world instantly, isn't it? We talk on the telephone. I mean, we are talking to each other, and we are in three different countries, and we are talking to each other. And there are many people, from listening to us and participating, and they are in the other side of the world. And if we thought about this, even 50, 60, 100 years ago, people would talk, that's not, are you crazy? You're completely insane. This thing doesn't exist. But now, as I said before, we don't give two thoughts about it. It's just there. The internet is there. Zoom is there. We talk to people. We communicate. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine today. When I first came to England, they still didn't have phone calls, that you dial directly. You had to dial the operator to ask for a trunk call, and then they would wait for the operator to connect you and said, oh, you have, this phone. And it would take like 3 hours. And I would just pick up the phone and you talk instantly. So even 40, 50 years ago, this was like a miracle. I remember the first time that they had satellite transmission to the whole world. And was such a big happening, in the late 60s. It was incredible that was being transmitted all over. And nowadays it's nothing, but at the time was a miracle. So I think miracles change, and is all part of the natural laws. And as we develop and find the discovery of science, less and less things would be miracles, and we be within the understanding that the laws of nature can be used in certain ways. So I think this is an important thing about to understand miracles, that once we know what it is, they stop being miracles, stop being marvelous, and just normal part of the daily life of everyone. So it's interesting, it's good.
Yeah, it is. It is challenge because let's say we can call miracle everything we cannot explain, and we cannot explain today, but perhaps like in 10 years, with the evolution of science, evolution of moral laws, all this, we do have explanation for that phenomena. So what was miracle 10 years, 15 years, 100 years ago, today is not miracle anymore. And for sure, new miracles will happen, but in 100 years, it's not going to be a miracle anymore. So, and when we talk about miracles, we need it is like a donation. We need to donate ourselves 50% in terms of our faith, our belief. Miracle, it is you wake up in the morning, you do have a job, you do have a family, you have to eat, you have what to eat, you have a warm bed to sleep. This is a miracle, my friends. This is the miracle of life. Depends how you look at it. Some people hate the job. Some people love the job. Some people don't like the house. It's too small or it's too big. But instead, we forget to thank for the opportunity to have a house, to have a bed, opportunity to be here incarnated, trying to get in better ourselves, trying to make ourselves a little bit more evolved than when we incarnated. Incarnation is a miracle. Divine law is a miracle. Everything who goes against the divine law, which is the natural law, you're gonna suffer. That's the only certainty we have. If everything you follow the divine laws, if you follow all this, you don't have any problem. Perhaps sometimes the miracle is you going back to the natural law. You are far away from it. Something happened, then you wake up and you decide, "Whoa, wow, I need to go back that way." So you come back the right way. That's a miracle. But you had to suffer. You have to have the chance to be struggling in order to allow the miracle happen. Sometimes the benefactors, the good spirits help us. Of course they do. But only if we deserve it. If that help will not interfere in our free will. And then comes the situation in which someone goes to the church, to the spirit center, pray, light a candle, do a lot of promises. Oh, I'm doing this for years, but nothing happened. I would say that I have two questions for you. Do you deserve it? What are you asking for? Second question. Do you think what you're asking for it is good for you? Simple like that. Like my French friend here says, simple like that. It's simple.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, what you say is absolutely right. God has all power. Can he do miracle? Could he do a miracle? Certainly, he has all power, so he can do everything. But why should he do these miracles? It's coming from human. You know, we are sometimes so childish. I include myself in those. That when we have a problem, we go with this hope. Okay, there will be a miracle to resolve this problem.
Yeah.
Isn't it? No, you will solve the problem, facing it, looking for the causes, and working using your will to fix the causes. That is how you solve the problem. This is why Silvia has told, and we have seen in the video, your faith has cured you. Because she had so nice thoughts, she was in such a receptive mode, and this is what the key factor who helped us to cure. But the people, no, por favor, God, do a favor. We start negotiating with God and whatever. No, please do a miracle for me. And why for you and not for everyone? And so what? It's very childish, isn't it? And that's all about it. The miracle is the person doing good. Chico Xavier has performed miracles, but through his effort, discipline, work, how to say, continuity he gave in his actions. disinterestedness. That is the miracle of Chico, which is called as a miracle, but in reality, it was his quality and his efforts to do good. So we can all perform miracles, isn't it? Not only God. And these are the real miracles that progressing. Give other example. Saul, who fell from his horse on the street of Damas. It was a miracle. He changed. He did it. Madalena, who was a prostitute or whatever, also completely changed. This is another miracle. She did it. She did it. You see? And this is what we have to see the miracle as, to see them as, how to say, stimulating us to do these efforts towards good. And if we manage it, that is, we manage to do things that are externally considered by miracles. As simple as that, isn't it, Stevan?
Simple like that.
Simple like that. And the existence of God does not need miracles to be proven. There are so many evidences everywhere through his creation, exactly through the fact that his laws are perfect, that we discover them. We discover these miracles by science, with the progress of science. And the more, I think it's Victor Hugo who said, a little bit of science is taking us away from God, but a lot of science is bringing us back to him. And this is another miracle. Let's go with this science and see, and we will come to the conclusion to see all these evidences of God being perfect in all what he has done in the universe. And that is the so-called miracle. But exception, why should God make this exception? He will not do it. It would be, it's absolutely unnecessary, and it would even be counterproductive for whatever. I mean, a lot of other things are also can be qualified like that, but no, miracles as exception definitively do not exist, and they are not needed at all. What is needed is our own effort to become every day a little bit better than the day before.
Great. My dear Gibbons, we have talked about a lot of merits, what I need to do in order to deserve something, in order to, okay, let's look after this poor guy and let's help him. Let's help him. What I need to do in your viewpoint?
Didn't quite get the question. You mean to help ourselves? So what we can do to help others?
No, in
Or
order
if we
to,
feel that we
because you said
deserve?
in order to receive a miracle, you also need to deserve it. What do you need?
No.
What do you need to do in order to deserve a miracle?
Do you know what? I think this is an interesting thing because personally, I think we are a child of God. So for this very nature, we are inheritors of all his grace and of the universe. So from the standpoint, we are deserving, but the thing is, we sometimes don't see ourselves deserving things. And we need to see ourselves as someone who deserves it, because we hold ourselves back many, many times. Oh, I've done something wrong and I feel bad. And yes, we do wrong things. With our free will. I mean, just looking the situation sometimes of the world around us nowadays, we can see how many people use their free will really badly. But ultimately, it's our use of our free will, which is one of the greatest graces that God gives us. Also, we think of the marvelous or something exceptional happening, but the fact that you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes and you see the light of the sun or the rain or whatever is already a miracle. We don't realize that we live every moment a miracle. Every time that we breathe in and out and have another minute of life, another day of grace, it's a miracle. And even people who maybe have problems, who are terribly depressed, who are terribly unhappy. And I think that that's one of the greatest problems that we have now, that somehow, I don't know how, this got into the psyche of most of us, that we are victims. And I think sometimes when you look back in terrible situation, like people who were slaves, we can imagine what they suffered. But, they fought. I think one of these, they suffered. No, most of them, a lot of them fought. And they created things. If you think in terms of America, they created the spirituals. It's one of the most beautiful music there is, the blues. And they didn't see themselves as victims. Whenever they could, they fought hard. And, we had a huge thing in Brazil that, the slaves created a whole town, Quilombo, and they were there for many, many years. People fought. They didn't see themselves, oh, I'm a victim, I'm a terrible thing, I'm suffering. Whenever they could, and I think that's one of the things that change now. We see ourselves as a victim. We see ourselves, we don't deserve anything. So we're just there, oh, everybody's doing this, harming me, they don't respect me. No one will ever respect us or do anything for us unless we do it for ourselves. And I think going back to, and I think Charles mentioned it and you did as well, and I talked about, the miracles of Jesus. You always said, what do you want me to do? Your faith healed you. We do it. People help us, they guide us, they support us, but the miracles that we have is ours. And we don't realize that having health is a miracle. Having a healthy child is a miracle. Having a job to go to is a miracle, and some people just give in and they think they don't deserve, or because, and they get the self-pity that is very contrary to what God gave us and how we should see ourselves. I've done wrong. Yes, I made a terrible mistake. I made other people suffer. Or, yes, I've done it. Okay, what can I do from now on to overcome the harm I've done before? Am I able to go back and talk to those people and help them and ask their forgiveness? Yes, go back and do it. And if you can't, just do as much good as possible and create a different life, because we only deserve what we create for ourselves. So if we can snap out of this victimhood that seems to be going around now, nobody loves me, nobody understands me, you have to treat me the way I think I'm completely delusional, but you have and we need to do something to overcome this kind of things that we think we don't deserve. Do better. You recognize the wrong we've done and do better, and then we feel that we deserve it, because no one is going to do it on our behalf, and we deserve everything because we children of God, and and sometimes I don't think everyone is really a child of God in my ignorance. But I think I was reading something the other day, just opened this book, and there was this message, and they were saying that one of the sayings of Jesus, that he said, a person who does evil, who makes other people suffer, they do that out of ignorance. They are ignorant of the good that they can do. They are evolving. They are, and I think we need to look at, to see someone who does terrible things as a person who's ignorant, who's sad, who's unhappy. And if we can't do anything, you can send prayers to them. And I think that's a great thing to do. We can't help the world. We cannot transform the whole world. Things happen in a most terrible way, like I was saying to you earlier, an experience that a friend of ours just had this morning, and you can't avoid it. But what you can do, like I said, he was at the station this morning going to work, and someone who was standing actually next to him threw himself under the train to commit suicide. And he was so stressed. He was in tears, and what he did, he wrote to all of us and said, please pray for this person who did this. And we were praying for him as well. He's out, what can he do? Not much, but he could ask everyone to pray. And I think that's one of the things that we need to do. What we cannot do for ourselves, we need to ask help to be, so others can help us. Like even Jesus, there was a point that they, the Roman soldiers brought this man to help him bear the cross. And I think that we have our crosses to bear, but sometimes we need help, and we have to ask for it, I think, and see ourselves as someone who deserves, who are good, who have the light of God, and we're not victims of anything but ourselves, and see ourselves as a being of light, which we are going to be. So, and he says so in the Spirit's book. It's your destiny. And the Spirit says, everyone will progress. And the answer from the Spirit says, your destiny. So we are child of light, and we will be that forever. Maybe getting better and better, I think. I don't know if I answered the question or went too far out, but
No,
I
you
think
did. You did. Perfect. Perfect. You did. Let me see if I have
because I
any
think one of the
questions.
greatest problems now is the spirit, isn't it?
Yeah. 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 Um, and Charles, if we get the introduction of the gospel according to Spiritism, Kardec says, I think it's in the first paragraph, that the gospel according to Spiritism concentrates in the he said that the life of Jesus could be divided in 5 parts. Let me get here. I don't want to say something wrong here, but it's very, 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 very.
The gospel can be divided into 5 parts. The events in the life of Christ, the first one, the miracles, the prophecies, the words taken by the church on which they base their dogmas, and the moral teachings. These are the 5 main parts of the evangelism, of the gospel. And Kardec continues saying, the first 4 have been the object of controversies. Means not everybody agrees, a lot of people discussing, endless discussion whatsoever. However, the last, which I remember are the moral teachings, has remained constantly inviolate and is accepted by everyone. Before this divine code, even incredulity bows down. This is the common ground where all cults may be united. This is a flag under which all may gather whatever their creeds. So this is absolutely fundamental, isn't it? Of course, the book is entitled The Gospel According to Spiritism, But Kardec is saying what I'm focusing here are these moral laws, moral teachings, And these are, you can find them everywhere in all the other cults. That's why I always say we should have the Quran according to Spiritism, we should have the Veda according to Spiritism, Buddhism according to Spiritism, and so on. Because when you take this moral teaching, for instance, do unto the other what you would like the other to do unto you, you will find it everywhere. Not exactly word by word the same, but the meaning of this moral quality to this absolute incredible criteria, it comes from everywhere. Again, God is infinitely just, isn't it? Uh, He did not just make miracles in Christianity. No, not at all. Miracles as exceptional things. All the people, all the cultures, all the other religions also had missionaries coming from this team of benefactors together with Jesus. And they came in the different countries at different times, point in time, to bring the same teaching, just changing a little bit the form, adapting to the level of understanding of the people they had in front of them, and also adapting to the language and the cultures. But when you really go to it, what is good, what is evil, what are these moral teachings? They are universal. And this is what we should focus on, and not saying that Jesus is the biggest, only Jesus will save the world, because if you come with that, of course, you will be not very good received by Muslim, for instance, because for the Muslim, Jesus was a prophet, of course, but the last prophet was Mahomet. So the last prophet has the last word. So when you
Mm.
come with some statements, for instance, the words taken by the church on which they base their dogmas, it will not be universal. It will not fly, and you will not get any listening, any success everywhere. And what is important for our earth today? Look to the wars, look to everything in this moral teaching is very clear. We should stop that immediately. Huh? We should really see the richness of the diversity. Huh? We should really see adversity as an opportunity to grow. You know, and this is when we look to these universal moral teachings, I see that is where we can find the miracle, and we know it since a long time, since millenniums already. And I always say, what are we waiting for? Let's go for it now. It's time. huh? There is no time to lose anymore. Look how many people are still, uh, you know, manipulated, and we have seen the elections recently in Russia. What would we do if we would have, of what would I do if I had grown in Russia under this regime, and washing my brain permanently since I was a child? I would probably behave like them. And these are the things we really have to find ways, use our intelligence in order to see, okay, how can we mitigate this? How can we change those things? And of course, these moral laws, moral teachings are key for that.
Perfect. Perfect. And also, we needed to bear in mind um, how we discuss miracles, while we do have other brothers and sisters hungry, without shelter, in a complete war. Like now, we're talking about Ukraine, or now Israel war, because it's a modern war. Is more in the news, but those countries in the middle of Africa in a civil war for decades.
Afghanistan.
You know, so, and we're talking about miracles. I know the line who divides the being selfish, not being selfish, is very thin. But how am I to talk about a miracle while who really needs a miracle? Do not get it. But you can say, oh, because of the reincarnation, they deserve to be there. They deserve. Oh, yes, I agree. They chose to be there in the country. Yes, for sure. No problem at all. But us, as a humankind, as brothers and sisters, we should help those who are in need. And we do what? Nothing. We do nothing. My dear Silvia, your last is about five
Well,
minutes to finish.
I think
We're
you
going
made
home.
a very interesting point because, at least here in London, we don't have our streets anymore over weekends because of the protest, about the war in in the Middle East. But there are people in Africa, as you said, there is a terrible civil war in Sudan. There are more people starving in Sudan at the moment than there is in Palestine. And there is a lot of things, in Nigeria, and as you said, there are so many civil wars now in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and there is all these skirmishes everywhere. And while people are so worried about that, you wonder why don't they go and help them. um, we have lots of people sleeping in the streets. I don't remember ever a time, in a city like London, there were so many homeless people sleeping in the streets, which is an extremely sad fate of affairs. And, we don't know a lot of the social problems that is going on. And there is a lot of people as well, extra people, they don't have enough. Um, and we help, of course, as much as we can, but I think we need to help organizations to help them, because just giving money to people in the street, and sometimes you do, is not really helpful for them. And I think it's a lot of this as well is part of the society that we are living in now. We know that we are living the great transformation, aren't we? I mean, our world is changing from this word of atonement into a word of regeneration, and everything's coming out and it's cleansing up. We can't help everyone, but we can help as many as we can, and each one as well. But just one point about what Charles said. It is, I think, basically the basic teachings that Jesus brought was love your God and love your neighbor as yourself, and do unto others as you wish them would do unto you. And this is inherent in every single culture, and from the most primitive to the most advanced, because these are the teachings that he was going to bring to us. And we cannot forget that as a spiritist, we learn that spiritism is the third revelation. To remember what Jesus had taught us. We respect all religions, of course, but what Jesus brought was to unite humanity, because he's the governor of this planet. So he's responsible for all of us, whatever. And sometimes religion becomes so divisive that instead of having love for God and helping your neighbor and whoever they are, oh no, you're not my religion, you're going to hell, you are an infidel, you don't deserve it. And I think that is a kind of thing, that's the backward thought that sometimes we have in whatever religion we follow. And I'm not saying, there are a lot of Christian people who call themselves Christian, but probably they would kill Christ faster than they did when he came first time. And, I think we needed to see ourselves as one people, and be united and try to tolerate and understand each other. Because all this imposition as well of diversity, it seems to me now that you have to accept whatever the other people bring in, but you cannot have your own. You have to accept diversity. You need to accept whatever they have. And I think, should be you accept from both sides of the structure, from both sides of the divide somehow. And I think this homelessness, selfishness, depression, I mean, suicide, the number of suicides is incredible, it's terrible. It's part of this transformation of a planet. And we who have a little bit more awareness of God and what is required of us, if we can't, we can't give money to everyone, but we can help the people around us. And if not, we can help them with our prayers. And I think that's what we need to do, is to send prayers to the world, to the people, and even to the people that we don't like very much sometimes. I think they are the ones who deserve more prayers than the ones you like. And we will overcome, and we will have a beautiful future. Our planet will be a planet of love and understanding and one people. I think that everyone will follow whatever religion they are, but they can accept everybody else as well and honor them. And I think that's important. And as a Christian, we are taught to accept everyone. So it would be nice if they could accept us as well, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, let me share my screen. Let's go to our announcements. Here. Okay, so our next show, it's next Wednesday, 27th of March. It's 9 p.m. UK time, and the topic is, do guardian angels exist to protect us? Do guardian angels exist to protect us? Okay, so our Spiritism X 2024, the enrollment is already open, so go to Eventbrite. You can do your enrollment there. Our Camille Famarion series, it's on the way. Roberto Watanabe will give his talk not this Sunday, the following Sunday. Spiritism Magazine new issue, and keep listening our Kardec Radio. That's it, my friends. I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you for the wonderful discussion, wonderful talk. I hope you have a good evening or a good day. Depends where you're watching this and when you're watching this.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
you.
everyone. Nice
Thank you so much. All the
Bye bye,
best.
my friend.
week.
Bye bye.
Blessings.